Hi. How are you? How was your week? A lot of stuff going on this week. It was Passover and take your child to work day. A lot of stuff going on. And it was a kind of a rough week for us. And I don't know why, but sometimes some weeks are rough. Remembering and missing the people that we love. So I'm not sure if what I'm going to say is going to make sense. But I'm going to try. I have a fear. My number one fear about Carl, about Kev, about everybody I love, is that once their body has passed, my fear is that they don't exist. And I'm looking all the time for explanations of what happens once you're gone. And in the middle of all this, Kenny, who also has been having a pretty rough week, went to the place that he feels Colleen and our friend Elizabeth and the calmness that he needs. He goes to the Poconos. And he's there, and he sees this plaque on the wall. Elizabeth loved that stuff. She looked all the time for stuff like that. And he read the plaque, and this is what the plaque said. It's holding a flower. I hold you here, root and all in my hand, little flower. But if I could understand what you are, root and all in all, I should know what God and man is. It's kind of hard to understand that, isn't it? But I looked it up, and it's a poem. It's called Flower in the Crannied Wall. Flower in the crannied wall, I pluck you out of the crannies and I hold you here, root and all, in my hand. Little flower, but if I could understand what you are, root and all, I should know what God and man is. This is a connection between nature, between life in nature and human life and God. God is the connector. And so what do we think it means? Kenny says, the energy that is in the flower and everything God made never dies. The energy that is in the flower and everything that God made never dies. It turns to dust and lives again. And I read that and I kind of like, oh my God, that means that Colleen lives again. Her body is dust, literally dust. But the energy that is her, the life force in the flower and in the dust doesn't stop existing. It just changes. It changes. She's no longer has a physical body, but she still exists. She still lives in a different form. What God made doesn't go away. Listen. Ecclesiastes 3:14. I know anything God does will continue forever. People cannot add anything to what God has done. They can't take anything away from it. God does this way to cause people to honor him. And this is what I read online. When a Christian dies, he or she immediately enters the presence of the Lord. No waiting, no delay. Jesus doesn't wait for us to be sufficiently purified before we get to stand before him. When we die, we are with him, and we keep being with him after our bodily resurrection and the world is made new. And that refers to later when the bodies come back. There's no end. Colleen is not ended. Your loved one has not ended. They're still here. They're still in existence. They're still alive in a different way, in a different form. In Revelation 22, verses 1 through 2, then the angel showed me the river of the water of life. The river was shining like crystal. It flows from the throne of God and of the Lamb down the middle of the street of the city. The tree of life was on each side of the river. It produces fruit 12 times a year, once each month. The leaves of the tree are for the healing of all people. So here you go. Trees continue. Plants continue. I'm walking to school today, and I see my friend, the crossing guard. And she said to me, I just found out yesterday that those white puffs are the dandelions. I thought they were different flowers. They're the dandelions. So we talked about that for a little while. I talk about life cycles with my children at school. The plant has a life cycle. You plant the seeds. They grow the roots, and then the stem and leaves. And then the flower comes out, and the seeds come from that. Then the seeds get blown, and they get planted again. That plant never dies. It continues on. It keeps going. That's what this poem is saying. That's what we do too. We just keep going. We change. We're no longer having a physical body, at least for now. But we keep going. I don't know where Carl is. Pretty sure it's in heaven. But I do think she's here. Or at least has a connection to here. She's kept going. It's in the Bible everywhere. What God has made doesn't go away. You connect with Him, you got this. Colleen's so connected with God. She so did exactly what Jesus said. Take care of other people. Be kind and loving and do what they need. That was her whole life. Always. She's there. Your loved ones, they're there. This life doesn't end. It keeps going in a different form. That's true of the plants. It's true of the butterflies. Butterflies is a perfect example. Butterflies, eggs, caterpillars, and then magically in that chrysalis, that caterpillar turns into a butterfly again. They still exist, but in a different form. So, when you're feeling like me, and you're afraid that they don't exist anymore, or you're saying, I remember when, rather than, I know she's there now, you think about that. The last one I'm going to read doesn't have to do so much with that, but has to do with what God is thinking. John 3:16, for God loved the world so much that He gave His only Son. God gave His Son so that whoever believes in Him may not be lost, but will have eternal life. God gave His Son and could give His Son because He knew that His Son would continue to exist. He knew that after Jesus died on that cross, that He would be back with Him. And God does that for all the rest of us. We die, our body turns to dust, but our spirit, the part of us that's us, goes up and lives in a different way, but lives. I'm thinking this kind of may make a little bit of sense because I'm not crying. Because it makes sense, doesn't it? I think that we can hold this and keep it and bring it out when we're scared. God made things to keep going. And Colleen is still going. Your loved one is still going. And maybe in a place where they don't have anxiety or pain or fear. I don't know if this will help you, but I really hope so. Just keep thinking, keep believing, and keep in your head and in your heart that God doesn't do stuff like this to hurt. He does it to make things better. That's his whole thing. I don't know how it works, but I like this part. Another way of looking at it, another way of seeing that we go on. Colleen is still there. I love you. I miss you a lot, but we'll be together soon. Have a good week.